you for tuning into Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. Welcome to your news at noon. These are the top stories we are tracking. Government touts being transparent in oil sector, but actions say otherwise, says international analyst. Venezuela government and opposition unite on territorial claim to Essequibo and move rejected by Guyanese politicians. Minister Edgel says final cost for CJIA expansion is unknown but will not surpass $200 million. The gas plant will require $84 million cable to connect to GPL grid, according to a study done. And a new 5-star 150-room Marriott hotel at Ogle closer to realization as EPA clears venture from EIA requirement. Venezuelan accused of murdering Guyanese man killed in hail of bullets. Motorcycle gang goes on robbery spree from Harbor Bridge to Houston. Robbed driver left with bridge toll. And country drill campaign to generate significant hazardous waste project document. Stay tuned to stay informed.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
And now for the news in detail. There are two sides to transparency, says Arthur Deacon, a co-director of energy practice at consultancy firm America's Market Intelligence. On one hand, Deacon says there is transparency in what one says they will do. But the other side of that, and perhaps the more important aspect, is what was actually achieved. It is against this point that Deacon said that the government touts about being transparent, but its actions are suggesting the opposite. Deacon went on to refer to the current legislation that was passed in 2019 by the APNU-AFC administration, which governs the Natural Resource Fund. He said this legislation gives the Minister of Finance too much influence in the utilization of the fund. Notably, the PPPC government has signaled its intentions to update the oil money legislation to insulate this fund from political maneuverings and mismanagement. Deacon stressed that Guyana's oil funds are more susceptible to abuse by its politicians if the necessary systems are not in place. In other news, the latest decision by the Venezuelan government and its opposition coalition, the Unity Platform of Guyana, that should be of Venezuela, to unite the territorial claim to the Essequibo region, has been met with strong rejection from their political counterparts here in Guyana. On Tuesday, both the government of Guyana and the APNU-AFC issued statements in which they firmly rejected the move by the heads of delegation for Venezuela. According to the statement issued by the government of Guyana, the Venezuelan met in Mexico City and signed an agreement on a number of issues, including the country's long-standing claim to Essequibo. But in the statement released by the local Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the government said that the agreement is an overt threat to the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Guyana. The APNU-AFC coalition reaffirmed the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Guyana and reminded the parties involved that the Guyana-Venezuela controversy remains before the International Court of Justice for resolution. And moving on. As the cost for the Chedi Jagan International Airport expansion project continues to climb, Minister of Public Works Bishop Juan Edgel recently stated that the final cost for the project is still unknown since it is a work in progress. However, he noted that the cost would not surpass $200 million. He noted that during the APNU-AFC's last tenure, the initial agreement that the PPPC had signed with the contractor, China Harbor Engineering Company, was adjusted. The minister explained that Guyana was supposed to receive an airport with 8 air bridges, but due to the adjustments made to the contract by the previous government, the contractor only provided 2 of the air bridges and 2 more were purchased, which ended up costing Guyana close to $2 million. The PPPC government, he said, recently purchased 2 additional air bridges, bringing the total to 6 air bridges. The total air bridges were also procured at a cost of $2 million. And now let's tell you, the proposed gas-fired plant being pursued by the government will require the power to be evacuated from that facility and sent to GPL's Demerara-Berbice interconnected system using high-voltage cables. According to a study conducted by the Inter-American Development Bank, the least costly alternative amounts to just over $80 million to install a combination of the 69 kilovolts and 230 kilovolts power line to take the electricity from the power plant to the GPL Sophia substation. And now let's tell you, ExxonMobil Guyana is gearing to undergo a 12-well drill campaign in the Kanji block, and according to the project summary submitted to the EPA, the activities are expected to generate hundreds of tons of hazardous and non-hazardous waste monthly. According to the document, as it relates to hazardous waste, this includes oily residue between 31 and 77.6 tons each month. As it relates to non-hazardous waste, the company says it envisions this at between 46 to 100 tons each month, while sanitary and domestic waste see amounts of up to 4,500 tons each month. According to ESSO, the waste would be generated for the various categories based on the class of drill ships that would be used, anticipated number of support vessels, and typical crew sizes normally used for deep water well drilling of this type, and the planned duration of the drilling campaign. You're listening to Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and of course 99.5 FM. This is your news at noon. We will return after the break.
Guyana, please join me on the Glenn Lal Show, 99.1, 99.5 FM, Kaieteur Radio, every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, 7:20 p.m. and a rebroadcast of the next day at 11 a.m. just in case you missed that program.
Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. The construction of a new 5-star Marriott hotel and commercial complex at Plot VAI Plantation Good for Walking on the east coast of Demerara by Trinyuana Investments Inc. has been exempted by the EPA from conducting an environmental impact assessment, bringing its construction closer to realization. The announcement was made by the EPA recently, which cautioned that its exemption status did not in any way mean that the proposed project was approved by that body. According to the EPA, it had screened the project's application for the grant of environmental permit and had determined it would not significantly affect the environment. The company, however, will be required to prepare an environmental management plan ahead of any construction at the Trinyuana project. Meanwhile, one of the 4 men accused of gunning down a Guyanese man and injuring his wife in Venezuela was reportedly killed when Venezuelan police opened fire on him on a Tuesday. The Guyanese man, identified as Rishad Rahim, was shot dead around 3 hours on Monday while driving out with his wife from his residence located in San Jose de Casual on April 11th. Rahim and his wife were reportedly heading to a gas station to fuel up their vehicle when 4 men attacked them in what is believed to be a robbery attempt. He had resisted them and tried to flee, but the men opened fire and the bullet struck him to his neck, killing him instantly while his wife was injured. Venezuelan detectives in the district had identified the gunmen as members of a gang called the 12 Disciples. We were informed yesterday by a Venezuelan journalist that one of the suspects who had attacked Rahim that morning was identified as El Negro. In other news, a gang of 8 men on 4 motorcycles went on a robbery spree yesterday from the Demerara Harbour Bridge in Houston on the east bank of Demerara. 2 of them, one a 15-year-old, have since been captured by police. The other six remain at large. It is understood that the bandits had attacked commuters at the western side of the bridge around 5 hours while they were waiting for a scheduled retraction to be completed. They then continued their robbery spree by robbing a taxi driver, a newspaper vendor, and her customer at Houston around 5 hours 15. According to one of the victims who was robbed in the vicinity of the bridge, he was waiting to cross the bridge to deliver fish to a customer. The bandits searched the man and relieved him of $141,000 in cash from his pocket, leaving him with just $500 to pay the toll to cross the bridge. Get the full details in today's Kaieteur News. And now for a COVID-19 update, followed by the page 7 of the Kaieteur News. Yesterday, the Ministry of Health reported that 3 women who contracted COVID-19 have died. As a result of this, the country's COVID-19 death toll has moved to 657. 289 new infections were recorded, bringing the total number of confirmed cases in the country to 27,061. Presently, there are 36 patients in the COVID-19 ICU, 131 in institutional isolation, and 2,476 in home isolation. To date, a total of 23,762 persons who tested positive for the virus have recovered. Surely we can't be this backward, this limited. Now we are borrowing $1.8 million from the IDB to build a strategy for economic transformation. That fancy phrase boils down to one word: plan. Plan what we are going to do with the oil money and post-oil. Plan how local content can prosper from this wealth. This is as basic as ABC, but here we are borrowing to build strategy. This is absolute insanity from those we have for leaders in Guyana. And with that, we've come to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.
Kaieteur Radio.
Covering Guyana from coast to coast.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Berbice 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.